brothers, Brother Jiraiya here, and today I have the Emperor's blessing to talk about Space Marine 2. I'm not going to try and do a British accent or some kind of, Euro-centric accent. I just don't have it in me today. I'm just too excited, right? I've been waiting for this game ever since the launch of the original trailer last year. September. They said September 23 is coming out. Came out and they're like, nah, September 24. We promise this time. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to be patient. And I'm going to wait. Because if they're willing to just say, hey, we're gonna take a year and we're going to work on this. Really, really work on this. I was like, who am I to say anything? And guys, it was so worth the wait. Let me tell you, I haven't had this much fun on a major AAA title since Final Fantasy, right? I know that was last year, but again, I feel like I don't have this kind of fun, especially with a lot of modern games, right? A lot of shooting games, or third-person shooter games. I don't get the feel from that like I did with this. But I digress. Now, let me also tell you guys a little disclaimer. While I'm not a brand spanking new fan, I also will tell you I only started my fandom, my journey into, the arms of the Emperor, beloved by all, around the time of a certain event, that happened in 2020. I don't want to say it because I don't want to get demonetized. Not that I'm making much money off this anyway, if at all, but, I'm more of a lore guy, right? I don't collect the minis, nothing like that. I'm too poor, right? I'm a plebeian, right? Very much not privileged in that regard, but I have played the games. I've read a lot of the lore, right? I played Deathwing. I played Dawn of War 1 and 2. I played, obviously, the original Space Marine game. And, man, the entire time since I picked up 40K as a fan, the one thing I wanted was to feel like a Space Marine. And, man, this game delivers head, shoulders, power pack and all, baby, right? Chainsword in hand, I was gunning it down through the thousands as far as the Tyranids were concerned, right? I was trying to be the Emperor's champion. Now, let me explain to you, right, what this game, what would it felt like, what it played like. And spoilers ahead, we're going to talk about the campaign too. Not a lot of detail. I don't get into the nitty-gritty, but we're going to talk about it. So, first things first, we got gameplay, right? Overall, I felt like it was smooth. It was visually spectacular. I had to stop 3, 4, 5 times every 5 minutes just to breathe in, drink in the atmosphere that was 40K, right? That was everything. Watching the Tyranids flying all over the place, watching everything kind of just go to hell or high water from 0 to 60 like that. I was feeling like I was in the 40K universe, and I was like, man, this place would fucking suck if I had to live here, but it looks gorgeous, right? I feel like it plays perfect homage to the setting. Fantastic, visually. Being in Astartes, beautiful. The Tyranids, terrifying. Chaos Space Marines, heretics that all deserve to die in the name of the Emperor, beloved by all. But anyways, I digress. That's the visuals. The control scheme of the game, I felt like it was fairly smooth. They give you a number of options of which to what you're most comfortable with. I am just, maybe it's because I play too many PC games where it's I wish I could, set it up the way I want to, make it a little more ergonomic for my own sake, for my own mental. But again, they do a great job. The only thing I wish I could do is I'm so used to switching weapons with triangle on a PS5, PS4, PlayStation, whatever. And this is the only thing I want. This is the only thing I want. Everything else is perfect. But anyways, the combat. I loved it. This is going to be speaking both for the combat in campaign as well as multiplayer, but I felt like it was well balanced, right? The shooting itself, the shooting mechanics, I don't feel like it was anything special in terms of they're not doing all this crazy stuff, but it's effective, it's simple, and it's good, right? It's not bad. It's good. It's really good. but it doesn't do anything special in that regard. However, the feel of it, right, firing off massive bolters, sign me the fuck up, baby, right? The Emperor protects with those big-ass bolter slugs, right? Now, the melee, man, the melee is great, right? In campaign, you're just slaughtering Tyranids and Chaos Space Marines and Demons by the thousands. In multiplayer, it feels like you're dueling another Space Marine. It feels like, oh, like, when I think of Space Marines dueling, I think of, oh man, these two massive, lightning quick, superhumans going at it toe-to-toe, but also, like, yo, you're two massive superhumans. You're gonna butt heads a little bit. There's gonna be some clanks, some thumps, and it's gonna feel like an earthquake. And every time the controller vibrates, when you fight, it feels like a Space Marine fighting, right? Even in the footsteps, just when you're walking around the battle barge, you feel the footsteps and you feel the weight of a Space Marine, and that it just totally immerses me into the setting, into the game, and I love it, right? From just moving around all the way to the combat, everything I felt like was smooth enough. Like, I don't know who was playing it saying it was clunky. Like, I could kind of see it for, like, I don't know, the first mission, maybe, because I wasn't really paying too hard of attention. I was shooting everything before I started sawing everything in half. But by the time the game was over, as far as the campaign, I was just, oh, execution time? Time to saw your head off, motherfucker. Right? I curse way too much. But anyways, I digress. Combat, fantastic. As far as specific mechanics, right? I love the execution stuff. I love how there's no real-time, like, button mashing executions. I got kind of tired of that with the original God of War games. Not to say they're bad at all. That holds a special place in my heart. But I'm glad that it's just like one less thing I have to deal with, right? I'm a Space Marine. I should just be able to, it just happens, you know what I mean? But, again, this besides the point. I will say, as far as specific mechanics though, I think the only one, I wouldn't say I didn't like it, but like the only thing that like sticks out to me is like the armor system. I don't mind that when you lose armor, you have to go, do some melee damage to go get yours, right? I love the whole, oh, he took from me, I'm gonna go get mine's back. Cool with that, that's dope. For me, it encourages very highly aggressive gameplay, despite what the situation might call for, but again, that's just me as a player. But what I don't know if I enjoy is just how quickly the armor does melt away, and I found that frustrating at parts, and I can imagine, like, in the extremely high difficulties, because I haven't touched that quite yet. I'm, waiting for my buddy to catch up and buy the game so we can do our own co-op, so I can kind of, like, introduce him into the setting. But I felt like it melts pretty quick, but also, I'm a shit player, so it might just be that. So, that being said, moving on into the multiplayer, I love the sheer amount of, again, 6 classes isn't a lot, but in a game like this, it feels like more than enough, in my opinion, right? I think they could probably add a couple more, but all in all, I really enjoyed the balance, right? I didn't feel like any one class can, like, hop into a map, hop into a game, and just start taking over by themselves, right? On top of that, there is a limit to how many of one class there is at any given time. So again, right, you're not just going to get a whole bunch of bulwarks, you're not just going to get a whole bunch of tactical marines just off-speccing and marking down everybody and just gunning everything down, right? You're not going to get a whole bunch of Night Lords just shooting down from the sky, blah, 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 all that stuff, right? But I feel like every class, not only does it play its role, but every class is effective in killing other classes. Right? Some a little less, like obviously an assault is probably going to have a little bit of the easier time kind of getting around a bulwark, getting around a heavy, but again, a heavy can just as easily like take an assault by surprise. Same thing with a bulwark, right? Just in different ways, and I enjoy that there's a certain balance, right? Even with an assault not being like a very tanky class, like there's been a couple times where, hey, I'm out of jumps, but I can still shoot you in the face with my bolt pistol and get a good kill, right? Obviously, if you're intelligent about it, everything works out. But, again, there's no one class, in my opinion, that just takes over, right? as far as modes are concerned, right, you have your Annihilation, you know, Command and Capture, and then I forget the other one. I'm not going to go into it. But right now there's only 3 modes, but if you've taken a look at the year 1 battle plan, there's going to be new modes both for PvP and PvE multiplayer for free, right, over the course of, I think, the next year and a half. That's year 1 all the way through September of next year. So I'm very excited because I feel like I'm not going to get bored very quickly because there's enough going on in the game, whether it's, you know, playing co-op or I'm going to try and platinum it. No promises whether I will or not, but I'm going to try and get all the trophies and try and 100% the game as much as I can. But it's another reason for me, like, all the changes they're going to make as far as, hey, there's going to be new game modes, new weapons, hopefully some new classes as well, just to shake things up. But it keeps the game fairly exciting for the future, and that makes me very excited, right? As far as the co-op is concerned, right, my favorite thing about it is they essentially tie, like, those co-op missions tie into the main story. They're just happening from a different perspective, right? Was it the captain's always like, I can spare 3 men, I can spare 6 men. I'm like, bro, it's a good thing these 6 dudes are Space Marines, because if you would have just told me 6 men, I'm like, yo, man, let's just take the L. Let's just get out of here and call it quits while we're behind. But it ties into the main story, and I enjoy that a lot because it provides a different level of immersion, as well as it gives a soul to the co-op mode. Aside from just playing the main story by yourself or with, you know, other players, you get to play these different perspective stories and kick ass, right? And obviously you get to customize your own Marines in them. So, huge plus there. The customization, right? Fantastic. I can't wait to just keep winning, keep unlocking, just for the sake of the customization, because, right, I'm a big Night Lords fan and a big White Scars fan, so I want to see a Night Lord, or at least somebody Night Lord adjacent looking, you know, slaughtering Tyranids, or slaughtering other Astartes. And I want to see the White Scars. I'm like, yo, I'm going to grab my chain sword, I'm going to start laughing and start chopping people up, and it's going to be epic either way, baby. So, multiplayer. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Combat, amazing. Visuals, gorgeous, right? Now, moving on, right? The campaign. For those of you who haven't played the original Space Marine, right? Captain Titus, you know, they kind of they go over it again in this game, but, you know, fought a whole bunch of orcs and then fought Chaos, got accused by the Inquisition of being Chaos corrupted by that prick Leandros, and, you know, he serves his time with the Death Watch, 100 years, as a Black Shield, right? Can't wear his colors, but he's serving honorably. You know, after they pull a Rogue One right in mission number 1, you know, he crosses the Rubicon, or they make him cross the Rubicon to save his life with the Primaris surgery. If you're new here, don't worry about it. Get into the fandom, get into the lore, you'll figure it out. Now, he's kicking ass with the boys in blue. Chaplain's like, hey, bro, don't be no Chaos corrupted dude, because I will get you. And then, you know, he's sent off fighting the Tyranids. Eventually he's fighting Chaos. And then him and his squad are like, yo, we're gonna kill this Chaos Sorcerer with all the help of the other Ultramarines, and, you know, Dreadnought throwing massive rocks at Chaos Dragons. We love it. We love it. Again, I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty. The only thing, as far as the story specifically, in terms of, like, what happens, that I'm just still a little frustrated with, or technically it's 2 things. Leandros, that prick from the first game, is the chaplain. I hate it. Because at the end, he's still like, I'll be watching you, good sir. Watching very closely. And I'm like, bro, I just killed, you know, 2 Chaos, you know, Space Marines, as far as, like, you know, Chaos, or Demon Princes / Demon Wannabes in Nemeroth, and I forgot, you know, the Thousand Suns guy, or Imra. I just killed Nemeroth 100 years ago, and then I killed Imra. What more can I do? You know, the Primarch's behind me, Calgar's behind me, you're still over here being a dick. But, again, in 40k, sometimes things they just don't make sense, right? The Inquisition always says, there's no such thing as innocence, only degrees of guilt, right? That tells you plenty about the Inquisition and then our boy Leandros. That being said, the other frustration I have with the storyline specifically is that at the end of it, hey, you're taken away from the squad. You're gonna, yeah, you get to, team up with Calgar, but God forbid, it's kind of a cliffhanger. Now, I'm hoping with all the, the updates in the Year 1 battle plan coming up that we'll get some campaign updates and not have to wait for a full-on game sequel in the future, praise be the Emperor. Hopefully that doesn't happen as far as have to wait for a sequel. Now, my last little gripe, my last little piece before I give the final rating is I wish the story was a little bit longer, right? Again, in the co-op and multiplayer kind of gives you a different perspective of what's happening in the campaign, but I would just like more time with Titus and the boys in blue if that was possible, right? For me, that was the biggest thing, is like I really realistically got through it in about 4 to 6 hours, give or take, and that's just because I would take a little break, drink a soda or something, and then come back to it. But again, I think that's the major flaw in all this, is campaign's a little short. I would have loved like a 10-20 hour campaign of just raw dogging the universe with a massive space marine, but again, we can't have everything we want, right? It is not the Emperor's will, so we're not going to complain about it too hard. Now, overall, right, to close out this video, right, we got amazing gameplay, great combat, great feel, beautiful visuals, good epic story, right? Varied multiplayer classes and maps and modes, right? And on top of that, the Emperor protects. We're Space Marines, baby. What more do we need, brothers? All in all, I give it a solid 9 out of 10, my brothers. Thank you so much. The Emperor, remember, the Emperor protects. The Emperor protects. Now, that is all, my brothers. Brother Jiraiya out. Like, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Thank you. Good night.